Stop scrolling, because if what the internet is whispering right now is even half true, this might be the plot twist nobody saw coming. The timeline is in flames. Group chats are splitting in half. And somehow, once again, the names at the center of the chaos are Cardi B and Offset. But this time, there's a new layer, a new angle, and allegedly, a hidden chapter nobody was supposed to read. Here's the question no one can answer without side-eyeing their screen. Did Offset just subtly expose something Cardi never meant to go public? Or is this another masterclass in celebrity chess where everybody thinks they're winning until the receipts start breathing? Because late-night unfollows turned into cryptic captions. Cryptic captions turned into suspicious studio sessions. And suddenly fans are connecting dots that may, or may not, have been meant to connect. Is this a hidden affair? A strategic leak? A PR smokescreen? Or are we watching two industry veterans play 4D chess while the internet does free promotion? Either way, something shifted. And the silence? Oh, the silence is loud. Let's slow this down for a second, because what's happening right now isn't just celebrity drama, it's narrative warfare. And at the center of it, once again, are Cardi B and Offset. Two people who have never done anything quietly, two people who turned relationship turbulence into charting music, public reconciliations into headline cycles, and silence into strategy. So when the internet suddenly started whispering that something felt off again, fans didn't brush it aside. They leaned in. Because history matters here. And this isn't a random pairing with no backstory. This is a relationship that has played out publicly for years. Public breakups, public makeups, public apologies, public accusations, and every single time the world thought it understood the dynamic, another twist dropped. So when people say, why are fans overreacting? They're ignoring the pattern recognition happening in real time. The audience has receipts from the past. They remember the live streams. They remember the cryptic tweets. They remember the songs that felt less like art and more like coded confessionals. Now fast forward to the present tension. It didn't start with a screaming headline. It started small, an unfollow, then a refollow. A caption that felt pointed but vague enough to deny intent. A late-night studio photo posted without context. Fans noticed that the tone shifted. The energy felt colder, not explosive, calculated. And if there's one thing both Cardi and Offset understand, it's timing. They know exactly when to drop a song, when to drop a statement, and when to drop nothing at all. And that nothing? That's where the internet goes feral. Because silence between two people with this much history doesn't feel peaceful. It feels loaded, especially when fans start cross-referencing timelines. Wait, didn't she post this the same night he posted that? Why did he delete that story? Why did she like that comment and then unlike it? It sounds obsessive. It probably is. But stan culture today operates like a forensic lab. Screenshots are currency. Deleted posts are trophies, and every small digital movement becomes a potential clue. Then came the speculation, and not confirmed facts, not official statements. Speculation, the kind that spreads faster than wildfire because it thrives in ambiguity. The rumor wasn't loud at first, it was phrased as a question. What if there's more going on? That's how these narratives start. Not with a declaration, with a suggestion, a maybe, a what if. And suddenly, people weren't just analyzing Offset's behavior. They were analyzing Cardi's too. Her tone on live. The way she paused before answering certain questions. The way she laughed something off instead of addressing it directly. Was it maturity? Was it strategy? Was it exhaustion? Or was it containment? Offset, on the other hand, leaned into what looked like confidence. Polished posts, high production visuals, controlled messaging, the aesthetic of someone unbothered. But here's the thing about appearing unbothered on the internet. The more intentional it looks, the more people assume you're bothered. And that's when the phrase started trending in certain corners of social media. Hidden narrative. Not hidden affair, Not hidden crime, hidden narrative. The idea that what the public sees is only the surface layer, that there's an entire chessboard behind the curtain, that maybe what looks like relationship tension is actually leverage, branding, negotiation, power positioning. Because let's be honest, this isn't just romance. This is business. Cardi B is a brand. Offset is a brand. Their relationship, whether stable or chaotic, has always intersected with streams, sponsorships, relevance, and media cycles. When two high-profile figures with shared history move even slightly out of sync, it creates ripple effects across fan bases and industry circles. Then someone resurfaced an old clip, a joke made months ago that suddenly felt less like a joke, a lyric that sounded different in hindsight, a comment from a past interview that didn't age well. Context changes everything, and once the narrative shifts, old material becomes new evidence in the court of public opinion. Here's what makes this situation volatile. Neither of them has made a direct explosive statement. No long notes app confession, no angry rant, no official press release, just movement. Subtle, strategic, almost theatrical. And when two people who are known for being loud suddenly go quiet, the silence itself becomes the headline. Fans split into camps, Team Cardi, Team Offset, Team It's All Promo, and the promo theory gained traction quickly. And because in this industry, controversy converts. Drama streams, speculation monetizes. Some people believe this entire wave of suspicion is nothing more than a rollout in disguise, a distraction before a drop, a storyline building toward a musical payoff. But others aren't convinced. They point to the emotional undertones, the micro-expressions in live videos, the way certain questions get skipped, the absence of joint appearances. They argue that this feels less like marketing and more like distance. And then there's the third layer, the idea that neither of them is leaking anything directly, that the chaos is organic, that fans, blogs, and commentary channels are building a narrative that may not even exist behind closed doors. Because in 2026, perception can outrun reality within hours. What makes this especially interesting is how controlled both camps appear publicly. No messy back and forth, no exposed screenshots, no direct accusations, which is unusual given their history. That restraint feels intentional, almost like both sides understand the cost of escalation, because escalation would mean receipts, and receipts mean permanence. So instead, we're watching a standoff, a digital Cold War, subtle moves, strategic silence, occasional hints that could mean everything or absolutely nothing. And the audience is refreshing their feeds like something is about to detonate. The question isn't whether something happened. The question is whether something is being staged, suppressed, or simply misunderstood. And just when people thought the noise would fade, a new layer entered the conversation. Not from an official source, not from either of them, but from someone adjacent, someone close enough to add fuel, distant enough to deny responsibility. A comment, vague, suggestive, and perfectly timed. That's when the timeline shifted from curiosity to anticipation, because now it wasn't just about past tension, and what might drop next became the only thing anyone could talk about. Because when anticipation replaces information, imagination takes over, and imagination on the internet is undefeated. Within hours of that vague, perfectly timed comment from the adjacent source, fan accounts were dissecting tone, punctuation, even the timestamp it was posted. Was it accidental, coordinated, a warning shot, or just clout chasing wrapped in mystery? This is where things escalated from passive speculation to full-blown narrative construction. Threads started appearing, long ones, the kind with numbered tweets and red string energy, people mapping timelines, overlaying studio sessions with travel dates, cross-referencing appearances, fashion choices, even who was tagged in what and who wasn't. And the strangest part? None of it required a confirmed scandal. The momentum was self-sustaining. Now let's talk about image, Because if there's one thing both Cardi B and Offset understand better than most, it's optics. Cardi built her brand on radical transparency mixed with unpredictability. Offset built his on reinvention, resilience, and calculated cool. So when fans started noticing that their public personas felt slightly recalibrated, alarms went off. Cardi's tone online appeared sharper, not louder, sharper. The jokes had edges. The laughs lingered a second too long. She wasn't naming names, but she was dropping statements about loyalty, about patterns, about not being anyone's storyline. Was that random? Maybe. Was it directed? Possibly. Was it enough to send TikTok analysts into a frenzy? Absolutely. Offset, meanwhile, leaned heavily into composed visuals, family-oriented captions, studio grind content, subtle references to growth. It looked like a rebrand mid-storm. And the internet hates when the aesthetic shifts during turbulence. Because it feels intentional. It feels curated. It feels like someone is trying to get ahead of something before it becomes official. Then came the podcast whisper. Not an official interview, not a headline appearance, just a rumor that someone close to the situation might be speaking soon. That was enough. Blogs picked it up with cautious language. More sources suggest. Insiders hint. The vocabulary of plausible deniability, but the effect was explosive, because once the word insider enters the chat, people assume proximity to truth. And here's where the hidden narrative theory gained real traction. Some fans began suggesting that what we're watching isn't exposure, it's leverage, that perhaps private conversations reached a stalemate, that maybe someone felt underestimated, that maybe this isn't about betrayal at all, but about power balance. Who controls the narrative? Who drops first? Who shapes public sympathy? Because in high-profile relationships, control of the story is currency. A resurfaced clip from an old interview started circulating again. In it, Cardi talks about not liking to be played publicly, about how disrespect behind the scenes hits harder than public rumors. At the time, it felt general. Now, in the current atmosphere, it felt prophetic. Context changes tone. Tone changes perception. Perception changes everything. Offset's older lyrics were also being analyzed, fans pulling lines that sounded ambiguous enough to reinterpret. Was he foreshadowing? Was he venting? Or are people just retrofitting art into drama because they're bored? And here's the twist that complicates everything. There has been no confirmed proof of an affair. No documented evidence, no legal filings, no direct admissions, just energy shifts and interpretive chaos. Which raises an uncomfortable possibility. What if the internet built an entire scandal out of emotional body language and strategic silence? But that possibility doesn't trend. Suspicion does. At this point, the comment sections became battlegrounds. There's some accused Offset of attempting narrative damage control. Others accused Cardi of orchestrating mystery to maintain relevance. And a third faction insisted that this entire situation is nothing more than a rollout for upcoming music. Because what better marketing strategy than unresolved tension? Except here's the counter-argument. If this were purely promo, wouldn't there be clearer breadcrumbs? Wouldn't there be a more obvious crescendo? Instead, what we're seeing feels messy in a way that doesn't look scripted, not chaotic, controlled chaotic, which is somehow even more unsettling. Then the phrase hidden affair started trending in smaller corners of the timeline. Not because of confirmed evidence, but because people began theorizing about emotional distance, about separate circles, about who was seen where and with whom. Again, nothing concrete, just patterns people believe they're noticing. And patterns are powerful, especially when fans feel personally invested. One anonymous account claimed that tension had been brewing for months. No proof provided, just confidence. But confidence online is contagious. The tweet went viral, reaction videos followed, commentary channels jumped in, and suddenly, the rumor cycle reached escape velocity. Through all of this, neither Cardi nor Offset made a definitive statement addressing the speculation head-on. And that's what keeps the machine running. Clarity kills suspense. Suspense fuels views. What's fascinating is how quickly this shifted from relationship gossip to a broader conversation about authenticity. Fans asking whether celebrity marriages can ever be real under constant surveillance. Whether curated love stories are sustainable. Whether privacy is even possible at this level of fame. And quietly, in the background, brand analysts and industry watchers are paying attention. Because while fans debate loyalty and betrayal, sponsors watch sentiment metrics, public opinion charts, engagement spikes. They don't care about romance. They care about stability. If this is nothing, it will fade. If it's something, it will escalate. And right now, we're in that uncomfortable middle space. The eye of the storm before confirmation or collapse. The phase where everyone senses movement, but no one has proof. But here's the thing about unresolved tension. It doesn't disappear. It either resolves privately or detonates publicly. And if it detonates publicly, it won't start with a headline. It will start with a post. It will start with a post. Not a press conference, not a polished magazine cover story. A post, a caption, a single line that reads simple on the surface, but detonates under interpretation. Because that's how this era works. You don't announce, you imply. And the audience does the amplification for you. Imagine the scenario. One of them logs on at 11:47 p.m. A black background, white text. Stop playing with me. No names, no context. Within seconds, screenshots flood the timeline. Within minutes, blogs reformatted into headlines. Within an hour, the narrative shifts from speculation to emergency discourse. That's how fragile this balance is right now. And here's why this moment feels heavier than previous waves. History. The public remembers every breakup cycle between Cardi B and Offset. They remember grand gestures. They remember apology tours. They remember dramatic reconciliations. So when tension resurfaces, it doesn't feel isolated. It feels cumulative, like unresolved chapters stacking on top of each other. But this time, the energy feels different. Less explosive, more strategic, less emotional chaos, more calculated positioning. And that's what's making fans uneasy. Because chaos is predictable with them. Calm is suspicious. Now let's talk consequences, not confirmed legal drama, not imaginary criminal probes, but real-world ripple effects. Brand partnerships don't panic over gossip alone. They panic over sustained negative sentiment. And sentiment right now is volatile. Comment sections are split. Engagement is high, but tone is polarized. That's the kind of climate that makes publicists nervous. If this is just rumor, the silence might be a strategy to starve it. If this is personal conflict, the silence might be protection. If this is rollout marketing, the silence is choreography. 3 different possibilities. Same visual outcome. Which is why nobody can confidently call it. And that uncertainty is powerful. Because fans aren't just asking, did something happen? They're asking, who's controlling the narrative? If Cardi speaks first, she frames the story. If Offset responds first, he frames the defense. If neither speaks, the internet becomes judge, jury, and unreliable narrator. There's also another layer people are quietly debating. Fatigue. How many public relationship cycles can an audience emotionally invest in before they detach? Some supporters are fiercely protective. Others are exhausted. You can feel it in the comments. Not again. Please let this be promo. I can't do another saga. That emotional investment is currency too, and here's the twist nobody wants to admit. It's possible that nothing explosive is happening at all. It's possible 2 adults are navigating private tension while the internet builds a cinematic universe around normal relationship friction. But because both individuals are cultural giants, even minor distance looks dramatic under a microscope. Still, the hidden affair phrase refuses to die. Not because of proof, because of narrative appetite. The internet loves a secret chapter. loves the idea that something was concealed in plain sight. It turns small anomalies into conspiracy boards. It transforms silence into suspicion. But without confirmation, everything remains theoretical. So what happens next? Is option 1, a joint appearance, a red carpet, a coordinated photo that quietly resets the timeline. No explanation, just presence. That would collapse half the speculation instantly. Option 2, a solo interview, carefully worded, vague but pointed, enough to acknowledge challenges without validating rumors. That would redirect the narrative without fueling it. Option 3, escalation, a lyric drop, a subtweet too sharp to ignore, a live stream that feels unscripted. That's the scenario that would reignite the fire at full intensity. And then there's option 4, nothing, absolute stillness. Weeks pass. The internet finds a new obsession, and this entire wave becomes a footnote in the long, chaotic history of a relationship that has always lived publicly. Right now, we are suspended between those options. What makes this compelling isn't confirmed scandal. It's volatility. It's the awareness that at any moment, one post could redefine the entire storyline. And both Cardi and Offset understand digital timing better than most. They know exactly how the algorithm responds to mystery. They know how engagement spikes when clarity is withheld. But strategy has limits. If tension is real and unresolved, it leaks eventually. Not always through exposés, sometimes through art, through tone shifts, through who stands next to you and who doesn't. Fans are watching everything, not because they're entitled to private details, but because this relationship has always blurred the line between personal and public. When you monetize vulnerability, people expect access. When you perform reconciliation publicly, they expect transparency during conflict too. And yet, privacy still exists, even here. So is Offset exposed? Not factually, not officially. Is Cardi hiding something? Not demonstrably. What's exposed is the ecosystem, the speed at which ambiguity becomes accusation, the way silence morphs into storyline, the hunger for narrative climax even when the evidence is circumstantial at best. This entire situation is a masterclass in modern celebrity dynamics. Perception outruns proof. Engagement outruns clarity. Suspicion outruns confirmation. And until one of them decides to interrupt the cycle with something definitive, we remain here, refreshing feeds, reanalyzing captions, waiting for that post. Because whether this is a misunderstanding, a strategic rollout, or the early tremor of something bigger, one truth remains. The next move will not be accidental. So now the real question is this. Are we witnessing the calm before a strategic reveal? Or did the internet just build an entire thriller out of silence and side-eyes? Is this another chapter in the unpredictable saga of Cardi B and Offset? Or are we watching the algorithm turn ambiguity into chaos for sport? Because one thing is certain, the next move changes everything. A post, a lyric, a public appearance, even a single unfollow could flip this narrative overnight. So I need to hear from you. Is there really something hidden here, or are fans reading between lines that were never written? Is this strategy, misunderstanding, or the beginning of another headline cycle we'll be dissecting for months? Drop your theories in the comments. Keep it respectful, keep it sharp. If you want the second anything concrete breaks, you make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because if history has taught us anything, when this story moves, it moves fast.